Welcome back, everyone. Last time we were exploring the rise of the Sumerians, all their impressive cities and their groundbreaking innovations. But today,
It's going to get a lot more mythical.
oh yeah, we're taking a deep dive into Sumerian religion. It's a world of
Powerful gods,
Yeah.
captivating tales and rituals that...
really touched every aspect of their lives.
It's amazing how, for the Sumerians,
It
religion,
wasn't just a belief system.
it was the bedrock of their civilization.
Yeah.
It shaped their social order,
Yeah.
political structures, even the layout of their cities.
So, okay, let's imagine we're in ancient Sumer for a second. We're walking through like a bustling city.
Okay,
And wait a minute, is that a ziggurat?
you see one.
Yeah. I thought those were just temples.
Well, they were temples,
Okay.
but not in the way we might think.
Okay.
For the Sumerians, a city wasn't just a collection of buildings. It was considered the earthly dwelling
Oh, wow.
of a specific god.
Really?
The ziggurat, towering over everything, served as the god's residence. It's like the city itself was designed to honor and appease its
Oh.
divine patron.
So the line between like the human and the divine was
Pretty blurred.
super blurred. Yeah. Speaking of gods, I know the Sumerians had a whole bunch of them.
They did.
Did they have like a divine org chart to keep track of who's who in this pantheon?
You could say that the
Right.
Sumerians were polytheistic,
Right.
meaning they believed in many gods, each with their own
Domain.
specific domain and personality.
Got it.
You had Anu, the sky god,
Okay.
Enlil, the god of wind and storms,
Mhm.
Inanna, the goddess of love and war.
Okay.
The list goes on.
So many gods.
There were a lot.
Each one had their own responsibilities, powers.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. It must have been tricky to keep them all happy.
It was, and that's where the concept of offerings and sacrifices comes in.
Okay.
The Sumerians believed that keeping the gods appeased was crucial for a good harvest, protection from enemies, and overall well-being. Makes sense. They brought food, precious objects, even livestock to the temples
As gifts.
as gifts to the gods.
Right. If you believe that a powerful deity controls your fate, you want to stay on their good side.
You want to shoot.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What I find really fascinating about, ancient religions
Yeah.
are the myths.
The myths. Right?
Those larger-than-life stories that try to explain,
Explain the world.
yeah, the creation of humanity and our place in it all.
It's a big question.
Did the Sumerians have their own version of, say, Greek mythology?
They certainly did. And just like the Greeks, the Sumerians had a rich tapestry of myths and legends.
Okay.
But their purpose went beyond simple storytelling.
Oh,
These myths were woven into the very fabric of Sumerian society.
interesting.
They justified kingship, reinforced social norms, and helped people grapple with life's big questions.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example of a Sumerian myth that...
That really captures this. Well, one that immediately comes to mind is the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Okay, I've heard of that.
It's not just one of the oldest known works of literature.
Right.
It's a profound exploration of the human condition.
Wow.
It follows the legendary king, Gilgamesh,
Okay.
on his quest for immortality.
Classic.
A quest that ultimately teaches him a valuable lesson about the acceptance of mortality
Oh, wow.
and the importance of finding meaning in a finite life.
That's quite a message for a story that old.
It is
It's amazing how a tale from thousands of years ago
thousands of years ago.
can still resonate with us.
Absolutely.
But how did this epic and other Sumerian myths, how did they actually shape their society? Did they just tell these stories around a campfire, or was there...
It was much more than just campfire stories.
Okay.
These myths were brought to life through rituals, festivals, and even their system of governance.
Really?
Imagine a society where the king's authority
Yeah.
wasn't just based on military power
Or like political maneuvering?
or political maneuvering.
But on a...
It's on a divine mandate.
Wait, you're saying that Sumerian kings were seen as chosen by the gods?
Yes.
Like divinely appointed CEOs of their city-states?
pretty much.
That's a lot of pressure.
It was.
So if the king messed up, it was like the gods were messing up too?
That was a reflection on the gods.
That's a whole other level of accountability.
Yeah.
And this idea of divine kingship, that was reflected in their daily lives.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It permeated everything.
Wow.
From their grand temples and elaborate rituals to their legal codes and social hierarchy.
So religion wasn't just a personal belief.
No.
It was the very foundation.
The very foundation.
This is already blowing my mind. I'm starting to see why this deep dive is so important.
Yeah.
It's not just about ancient history. It's about understanding the roots of human civilization.
It is.
and how profoundly religion can shape a society.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've established that the Sumerians had a lot of gods.
They did.
Their myths weren't just stories.
Right.
Right.
And their kings were basically divine CEOs.
Divine CEOs, yeah.
But what about those incredible festivals?
The festival.
The hear about, did they just throw giant parties
They like to party.
in honor of the gods, or was there a deeper purpose?
Those festivals were much more than just parties,
Okay.
although I'm sure they were quite a spectacle.
I bet.
They were a way for the Sumerians to connect with the divine, to reaffirm their social bonds, and to act out the stories that shaped their understanding of the world.
Okay, so less party and more religious performance art.
You could say that.
I can't wait to hear more about these festivals, but
Yeah,
maybe we should save that for our next deep dive session.
let's do that.
We wouldn't want to overload everyone
Yeah, let's know.
with too much information at once.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Sumerian religion.
Yeah, last time we were talking about their intricate pantheon of gods.
Right.
All those captivating myths that weren't just stories,
Yeah.
and how those beliefs even shaped their leaders. Absolutely.
Who were viewed as like divinely appointed.
Divine CEOs.
Yeah, divine CEOs. It's mind-blowing to think about how intertwined religion and politics were back then.
Yeah.
But today,
It's fascinating.
I want to shift our focus to those incredible festivals and rituals that you mentioned.
Yes.
We talked about how they were more than just parties.
More than just parties.
It was like religious performance art, right?
Exactly. These events were deeply symbolic and served multiple purposes. They were religious observances,
Okay.
civic duties, and yes, a way to have a really good time.
Of course.
But beyond the spectacle,
Yeah.
these festivals provided a tangible connection to the divine
Okay.
and helped reinforce those social bonds within the community.
So they weren't just about pleasing the gods with offerings. There was a real social aspect to it all.
Absolutely. Think of it this way.
Okay.
These festivals were a way for the Sumerians to act out their myths and legends, bringing those stories to life in a way that everyone could participate in and experience.
Okay, so I'm starting to get a clearer picture.
Good.
But could you give us a specific example?
Yeah.
What was one of these festivals actually like?
One of the most important and well-documented festivals
Okay.
was the Akitu Festival,
Okay.
which celebrated the Babylonian New Year.
Interesting.
It was a multi-day event
Wow.
full of symbolism and ritual, marking the renewal of nature and the victory of the god Marduk over the forces of chaos.
Marduk, the god who defeated chaos.
Yeah.
That sounds
It was a big deal.
pretty intense, yeah.
Yeah.
Was this festival all about celebrating his triumphs?
It was certainly a central theme.
Okay.
The festival involved processions through the streets,
Uh-huh.
priests reciting sacred texts,
Okay.
and the king reaffirming his vows to the gods,
Got it.
all of which reinforced Marduk's power and the idea of cosmic order.
Wow.
There were even ritual battles reenacting Marduk's victory,
Oh.
although these were more like dramatic performances than actual fights.
So like a mix of a religious ceremony and a theatrical production.
Yeah,
I bet those ritual battles were quite a sight to behold.
I imagine they were.
I imagine a society where these myths and rituals weren't just stories, but like living, breathing experiences
Yes.
that connected them to their history and their beliefs.
Beliefs and their community.
Yeah. It's like they were living their religion in a way that we rarely see today.
They were very connected.
Yeah, they weren't just observers, they were active participants in this cosmic drama.
Precisely. And that level of engagement must have been incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about watching a play.
Right.
It was about taking part in a ritual that affirmed their place in the world and their relationship with the gods.
Okay, I'm officially hooked.
Good.
Tell me more about this Akitu festival. What other rituals and events were involved?
Well, one key aspect of the Akitu festival was the symbolic humiliation of the king.
Of the king.
Yes. He would be stripped of his royal regalia
Wow.
and forced to pray for forgiveness before the statue of Marduk.
Wait, the king was actually humiliated in front of everyone. That seems a bit harsh, even for a ritual.
It might seem strange to us, but it was a powerful symbol of the king's submission to the divine will and his dependence on the gods for his authority.
Right.
It was a reminder that even the most powerful ruler was ultimately subject to a higher power.
Wow, that's a powerful message. It reinforces what we talked about earlier. The king wasn't just a political figure. He was like this link between the human and the divine.
Exactly. And this ritual humiliation also served a practical purpose.
Oh.
It allowed for a symbolic renewal of the king's reign,
Okay.
cleansing him of any past mistakes,
Oh.
and allowing him to start the new year with a clean slate.
It's like a cosmic reset button
You could say.
for the king and for the entire community.
Absolutely.
This is making me wonder about the other festivals they celebrated.
Yeah.
Did each god have their own special event?
Yes, many of the gods and goddesses
Okay.
had their own festivals and associated rituals.
Got it.
For example, Inanna, the goddess of love and war,
Uh-huh.
had festivals celebrating her power
Okay.
and her role in ensuring fertility and prosperity.
Inanna, the goddess who took a trip to the underworld, right?
That's the one.
We talked about her earlier.
Yeah.
Her festivals must have been quite different from the Akitu festival.
You're right. Inanna's festivals were likely more focused on themes of fertility,
Okay.
sexuality, and rebirth,
Right.
reflecting her multifaceted nature.
I see.
We can imagine processions,
Mm-hmm.
music, dancing,
Uh-huh.
and perhaps even rituals that mimicked her descent into and return from the underworld.
Okay, I'm definitely picturing a much more lively and celebratory atmosphere for those festivals.
Yes.
It's amazing how the Sumerians managed to weave so much symbolism and meaning into these events.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
These festivals weren't just entertainment. They were a way for the Sumerians to connect with their gods,
Yeah.
to reaffirm their shared beliefs,
Yeah.
and to experience the power of their myths and legends in a tangible way.
It sounds like they took their festivals very seriously.
They did.
Was everyone expected to participate? What if you weren't really into the whole God thing?
Well, given how deeply intertwined religion was with every aspect of their lives,
Right.
it's safe to say that participation was pretty much expected.
Okay.
These festivals weren't just seen as religious obligations.
Mhm.
They were also civic duties,
Mm-hmm.
expressions of loyalty to the king and the city-state.
It's like, hey, the gods are keeping our crops growing and our enemies at bay. The least we can do is show up for the party.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that for the Sumerians,
Right.
these myths and rituals weren't just stories or performances.
Yeah.
They believed they were enacting something real, something with tangible consequences for their lives and the well-being of their community.
This is all so fascinating, but it makes me wonder what happened to all of this. Did these festivals and beliefs just fade away with the Sumerian civilization?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it leads us into a discussion about the legacy of the Sumerians
Okay.
and how their ideas and beliefs influenced later cultures.
Interesting.
Even though their civilization declined,
Right.
their myths and rituals didn't simply disappear.
Okay.
They were adopted, adapted, and transformed by the cultures that followed them.
So their legacy lived on, even if it wasn't always in the same form.
Precisely. For example, the Akitu festival, which we've been discussing,
Uh-huh.
continued to be celebrated for centuries after the Sumerians,
Wow.
evolving and changing as it was adopted by other Mesopotamian cultures.
It's like those ancient Sumerian echoes
Yeah,
can still be heard, even in our modern world.
absolutely.
So what's next in our deep dive?
Well, we've explored the Sumerian pantheon, their myths,
Uh-huh.
and those captivating festivals.
Right.
Now, I think it's time to delve into some of their lesser-known myths
Okay.
and explore their unique understanding of the afterlife.
Okay, I'm ready to go even deeper.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Sumerian religion.
We've come a long way.
Yeah. We've explored their pantheon of gods.
Those captivating myths
Yeah. And those incredible festivals that blended spirituality.
with spectacle.
Yeah, with spectacle and civic duty.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It really has.
We've seen how deeply religion permeated every aspect of Sumerian life, shaping their
Political systems, social structure.
and even their personal beliefs about the cosmos.
Yeah. And today, I'm curious to explore those lesser-known myths that you mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
The ones that might reveal even more about the Sumerian worldview.
You're in for a treat.
Okay.
There are so many fascinating tales beyond the well-known stories,
Right.
like the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
For instance, have you ever heard of the myth of Inanna's descent
Inanna, the goddess of
into the underworld?
love and war.
That's the one.
Yeah, the one we
Yeah.
talked about earlier. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I vaguely remember her story involved a trip to the underworld.
Yeah, what was that all about?
What was that about?
It's a tale that speaks to the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth.
Oh, okay.
Inanna, a powerful goddess,
Uh-huh.
decides to visit the underworld,
Okay.
a realm ruled by her sister, Ereshkigal.
A visit to her sister's place. Sounds simple enough.
Right?
But knowing these myths, I'm guessing things didn't go smoothly.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
Inanna's journey becomes a harrowing ordeal.
Oh.
She's stripped of her power and ultimately dies
Oh, wow.
in the underworld. But through the intervention of other gods,
Okay.
she is eventually resurrected and returns to the world of the living.
Wow. That's quite a comeback story.
It is.
But what's the deeper meaning behind all this? It sounds like more than just a family feud between goddesses.
Exactly. The myth is full of symbolism.
Uh,
Some scholars see it as a metaphor for the changing seasons, with Inanna's death and resurrection representing the death and rebirth of vegetation.
I see.
Others interpret it as a tale about the balance of power between different realms.
So it's a story that can be understood on multiple levels, kind of like those layered Sumerian ziggurats we talked about earlier.
I like that comparison.
Yeah.
And speaking of layers,
Okay.
this myth also hints at the Sumerian understanding of the afterlife.
Oh, okay.
They believed that death wasn't the end,
Right.
but a continuation of existence
Yeah.
in a shadowy underworld known as the Kur.
Okay, now I'm picturing something like the Greek underworld, Hades, and all that.
Right.
Was it a place of punishment or reward?
Not quite.
Okay.
The Sumerian underworld wasn't about judgment or an eternal paradise.
Okay.
It was more like a dimly lit reflection of the world of the living, a place where spirits dwelled in a state of perpetual twilight.
That sounds, well, kind of bleak, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, heavenly feasts or
Yeah.
fiery punishments.
Not really.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily a place of suffering,
Okay.
but neither was it a blissful paradise.
Got it.
It was simply a different state of being.
Okay.
The Sumerians placed a lot of emphasis on proper burial rituals because they believed that the deceased needed provisions and offerings to navigate this shadowy afterlife.
So those elaborate burial practices weren't just about honoring the dead.
No.
They were about equipping them for the next stage of their existence.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it highlights another fascinating aspect of Sumerian religion.
What's that?
Their focus wasn't solely on pleasing the gods in this life.
Right.
It was also about ensuring a smooth transition into the next.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the complexity of the Sumerian worldview.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, their religion wasn't just about rituals and offerings.
Right.
It was a framework for understanding their place in the cosmos.
Their relationship with the divine.
Yeah, and even their own mortality.
Couldn't have put it better myself.
And what's so remarkable is that despite their civilization fading away millennia ago,
Right.
echoes of their beliefs can still be found in our modern world.
They can.
I'm thinking about our fascination with ancient myths,
Yeah.
our continued exploration of the afterlife, even the ways we celebrate the cyclical nature of life
Absolutely.
through holidays and festivals.
Exactly. The Sumerians may be long gone, but their ideas, their stories, and their enduring quest for meaning continue to resonate with us today.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from our exploration of Sumerian religion?
I hope they come away with a sense of awe and wonder at the richness and sophistication of this ancient belief system.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even civilizations separated from us by vast stretches of time
Right.
grappled with the same fundamental questions about life, death,
Yeah.
and our place in the universe.
Beautifully said. And for our listeners, here's something to ponder as you go about your day. If you could choose a patron deity from the Sumerian pantheon,
Ooh, that's a good one.
who would it be and why? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know.
Until next time,
Keep exploring
keep questioning.
and keep diving deep.